Lads, we are back, and this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, it will be a good one.
Odd today. It feels odd.
Why does it feel odd?
Sorry.
What's
like,
odd?
You like that subtle sense of peace, but it's not real peace before a huge battle?
I mean, yesterday I felt like I was about to go to war waiting to go to the game, like the moment I woke up.
Yeah.
I do have to say, guys, the show's Twitter account did look a little biased last night. I will say that. There was a bit of pain for the Leafs side. Who is saying Sandine in for Dermott?
That was not me.
I think it was, I don't know. I think it just, remember, because the podcast,
The podcast is not self-aware.
It has its own self-awareness. It's like a Terminator.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's good to know. So
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, but I'm just going to put it out there that I did not log into the Twitter account last night as I was watching the game with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want
to but to be fair, whoever was running the social, was that so Andrew Raycroft apparently liked one of our tweets. Was it actually him?
Yes,
yeah, it was actually him.
Yes, that's pretty sick.
Yes, it was so cool. I take back all the mean things about Andrew Raycroft. I said I take them back because he liked our tweet.
So yes. What was it like? It was a picture of his jersey asking for predictions for the game.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that was on the Instagram, and the Twitter was just kind of, this is like, bringing out this classic for Game 6.
By the way, I looked at that Instagram poll. I think it was about 80% said Leafs. So I want to get the names of those people. By the way, if the Leafs come back and win this, every one of our guests who said the Leafs were going to win is coming on the show again, and they're answering for their crimes. And then if the Leafs win, I think we do have to get Will on, but then Will would be fun about it. I think we can have a good time. I think we get a good time.
I think we'll have a good time either way.
So we should probably open the show talking about it. Since, it's weird. The Habs were down 3-1 since the last time we recorded. Game 5 happened, then Game 6 happened. I think what we really need to mention about Game 5 really is it was almost the same way Game 6 went, to be honest. And I guess we can start at the end. It led with, if you rewatch both goals, the Leafs turned it over in the exact same spot. It's just in Game 5 and 6, it went one way. Sorry, in Game 5, it went one way to Jack Campbell. And in Game 6, Byron made the pass to Kotkaniemi in front.
Right.
Very similar ways the game ended. Again, it was like the first shot was like Montreal's overtime in both cases. It was horrible. Yeah. So how are you guys feeling here? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling pretty good myself right now.
That would make a lot of sense, and I don't blame you for it.
Mm-hmm.
What's that things like? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling. What's the quote?
I know it's a song. I know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, it's been a rough 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I'm tired from not specifically from one side, but just the way it's been like an emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
For these games, because the back and forth, the whole, like the little sub dramas we have here and there. It's like, no, Marner, what are you doing? The officiating. You know what I keep thinking of? You know what I thought about in the overtime? This is one thing I'm going to talk about since we were on the topic of Will Baldwin.
Okay.
The whole thing where he said goalies love it when they see more shots than they don't.
I was actually really worried at the beginning of the game because obviously Montreal came out flying as was expected. And I was worried that Price wasn't getting a lot of shots because if you get to him, if you start throwing pucks on that early on Carey Price, you're not going to beat him. But I was worried there was going to be that one bad turnover for Montreal. It was going to go the other way in Toronto. We're going to bury one. But yeah, like that was the thing with Campbell is at no fault of his own. And technically a good thing for the Leafs is they just controlled so much of overtime. Campbell wasn't facing anything. Like, again, it was the second shot for Montreal that beat him in overtime.
And it was tipped too.
Yeah. And it was a combination of a terrible giveaway and Bogosian who was trying to block the shot. I mean,
that one hurt.
Don't get mad at me, Alex, but technically he did score the overtime winner.
He did. You know what? Will pointed that out last night. At the time, I was having none of it. I had a few choice words about plenty of guys on the Leafs, but
yeah.
But no, like it is comical.
But can we also say Jeff Petrie scored the tying goal?
I guess, yeah, technically.
Man, I'll tell you, I remember for the fourth time, I was at the game. I can't remember.
Were you at the game?
I was at the
you
game.
were at the game?
I was at the game.
It's like Mike in the cottage.
I can't actually remember the Leafs goals. Like, they were completely, like, just blank. I had these two Leafs fans backed in diagonally from me.
Yeah.
Weren't having their mask on, by the way. Security had to talk to them. They kept moving seats, which was against the rules. And every time the Leafs had the puck in the zone, it was – I think the girls sounded Swedish. It was really weird. Go Leafs, like, skate Mar. And, of course, naturally, as the game went on, they got very upset, and there were some very choice words, not suitable for the children that were also around. But oh man, I'll tell you, it was rough. It was rough. But being in there, I think we should first talk about the experience before we get into the game.
Yes.
Of the Bell Center having fans back in, because if you thought that didn't give Montreal a boost before the game, I think you were proven wrong very quickly. Because holy cow!
I mean, like. Even just watching the difference between the first 5 games and the rest of the American series where all of them had fans in it, like there was a difference in the way the players played per se. Like it was they had an extra amount of energy from the fans. And look at that Tampa Florida series. It got out of control a little bit, whatever, that's fine, but there was an extra something there that really pushed them.
It's pretty surreal to me to see the fans to actually hear the boos of Alex Galchenyuk and know they're authentic.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was Galch, I think it was Nylander and Matthews were the threes that whenever they touched it, like even like obviously later in the game, like people were getting tired and they couldn't chant as much. I was still booing the hell out of the three whenever I could. Like just despite the other Leafs fans in the section, like I could not stop myself. It was, man, I'll tell you, I woke up with a hockey hangover today. Like I sat up from my bed and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I'm surprised my voice is still intact because in the HFR, it cracked when I was talking about Corey Perry. So I was like, Corey Perry, it sounded terrible. I'll tell you though, it's very difficult to describe the feeling of stepping back into an arena again. Like I just couldn't stop smiling. And when I went up and I sat in my seats, right? Funny enough, it was in the section where I normally have my seats. So that was a pretty neat coincidence.
Yeah. And
I took the picture, right, and I threw it on Instagram. I was like, I can't describe the feeling of this. I started crying when I took the picture.
Yeah.
It was, it was, but then you start getting the feeling of like, I compared it in the video to being back in high school after the summer. Like nothing has changed. This all feels great. And like the anthem of doing it together with Madame Debo on the organ. It felt so good. And like when they do the starting lineup, booing the Leafs starting lineup, being able to chant Carey Price's name again, I'll tell you, guys, it was. I'm my eyes are watering up right now talking about it. It was probably, and I've been to playoff games before. I've been to home openers, but last night may have been the most special game I've ever been to. Just for the thing of it's a step back to normal life again. Can't describe it.
No, I think that's everything. Like, even though it was only 2,500 people, that's besides the point. It's like we've kind of been stuck in one place for the last 15 months or so. And like to go back to like some type of normalcy. It's like we haven't seen each other in 15 months. Like the last time I saw either of you was March 2020. Right. So it's like to go to even like this is beyond going to like a patio. This is like going to a hockey arena. Like this is a completely different thing. So I fully get that.
Just one more little selfish thing for me. The last game I went to was February 8th, 2020. Ilya Kovalchuk scored the game-winning goal for the Habs, 2-1 in overtime against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And there we go, a 3-2 overtime win for the Montreal Canadiens. First chance I get to go back to the Bell Center. Okay, first off, let's go into the game here. Something I've really enjoyed from this series, and I think because there have been some lopsided score games like early in the series, the goalie duel between Jack Campbell and Carey Price has probably been my favorite part of this series. And we continued to see that last night. That first period especially, Jack Campbell was lights out. The crowd were obviously taunting him because that's Montreal. Right. No, you guys know my mom's a diehard Habs fan. Like she hates the other team. She felt bad for Jack Campbell, which is like the sun rising at the other end. It doesn't make any sense. I felt bad for him, man.
I just like to say before. Sorry, Alex.
No, go ahead.
I'd like to say shout out to Adam's mom because we know how diehard of a fan she is after the Thomas Plekanec situation.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Did you say something wrong or something?
You got
I mistakenly said Leafs legend Thomas Plekanec.
You said it again. You said it again.
No, I mistakenly.
Am I gonna have to bleep? Am I gonna have to bleep that out?
No. I admit my fault during that situation. Mm-hmm. I'll call it the Thomas Plekanec incident.
Yes. Plekanec's gate.
That'll be another shirt. We're just coming up with great shirt ideas here. Yeah, I mean, I guess I do kind of feel bad for Jack Campbell, but it's like it's a playoff game, man. Like I expected that. When you have fans in the building, I fully expected it to be exactly as you described it.
Mm-hmm. I used to boo Jack Campbell.
Why?
When I went to the World Juniors, and he's playing for the United States, and then he doesn't do this anymore. I think I've mentioned this already. He doesn't do this anymore, but because he beat Canada in 2010, and then in 2011 TSN interviewed him before the next game, and then he said, "I don't know, they didn't learn their lesson from last year." And I'm like, all right, I don't like this guy.
That doesn't sound like Jack Campbell.
I know, right?
Hold on. Okay, so what did you think of Trevor Zegras then when he basically said Canada weren't tested at all?
I called that the Chris Pronger test because another example, I know I'm going a bit off topic right now. On 2006, the Edmonton Oilers beat the last Mighty Ducks team in the conference finals. I'm like, I will never like anybody on this team, on this Oilers team.
Like Troy Terry?
And then he gets traded to the Ducks in 2000 in the off season. This is the year before the Ducks won the cup. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, awesome. They got Chris Pronger. I'm hyped. So it flips like that sometimes.
I want to read you guys last note on the quick goalie duel here. I want to read you a tweet from Greg Wyshynski. I remember a couple years ago, there was a video I saw come up in my YouTube feed about who are the most overrated players in the NHL. The cover of the video had Carey Price and Erik Karlsson in it. So I click on it. It's Greg Wyshynski. And, he goes on to say it. He says Price and Karlsson are overrated. By the way, Erik Karlsson's not overrated. He can't skate anymore because Matt Cook destroyed his leg. And he single-leggedly carried the Sens to a conference final appearance. This is a tweet he had last night. There's actually one before this about UC Saros, but I'm not going to mention it. So, Greg Wyshynski on Twitter. Carey Price played really well in overtime on a series of unscreened shots, which don't produce the kind of deflections that the Habs got on the game winner. The kind that eventually beat a goalie like Carey Price. Listen, I don't know if it's the tone of that, but it really feels like he belittled that overtime when... And, we had a bit of a conversation over text last night. One of the first things you said to me, Alex, and that was Carey Price, holy cow.
Yeah.
It feels like the guy has a vendetta. It's not only him. Like, remember earlier in the season when Jeff Merrick was like, yeah, Carey Price, he's the reason Julian got fired. And don't forget, these guys Merrick and Wyshynski had a really famous podcast back in the day. So I think these two have a vendetta against Carey Price. I just don't get it.
I don't get this tweet because it sounds sarcastic, but I don't get the tone here. I don't know what he's trying to convey. But with the Merrick thing, I think it goes back to that Alain Vigneault quote where it's like, what did he say? Goalies.
If your goalie is better than mine, then you win. If my goalie is better than yours. Ignoring the fact that the Habs had the same pitfalls for 3 years.
Right.
And maybe that had more to do with Claude Julien getting fired. Probably. But that's just me. It's not like I've been watching this team nonstop for how long. What do I know, though?
No, I don't know. No, it's fair. Like, I don't know. he's not like, here's the thing, the way I put it, because when I was watching the game last night, like I think a lot of the shots that the Leafs took were just horribly misplaced. Like, there's a formula to beating Carey Price in a way that you're gonna score greasy goals. That's the only way it's gonna get done most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he's right, but like he played and he has played for the entire series some of the best hockey I've ever seen.
There's a thing with Carey Price is that the biggest thing with him is he's a black hole. He's described himself as. What makes Price a special goalie is his positioning. So if you see pucks hit him in the chest or go right into his glove, that's his game. That's what he's perfected. Like, that's what won him a Vezina trophy.
Right.
Anyway, I mean, honestly, I think his 41 saves, I think, speaks for itself. Okay, going more to the game is I have this other tweet up here. And I think it's probably the biggest concern I think Leafs fans are going to have after last night's game. This is from Sergey. This is Bearsin_goal on Twitter. Yeah. Not sure if this has been mentioned, but my brother-in-law sent me this interesting breakdown of Mitch Marner's penalties in the playoffs. I checked and it's correct. Mitch Marner has 6 minor penalties in the playoffs. 5 of them were for delay of game. Now, this is a big issue because last night, once the Habs were on the power play after the delay game for the Keefe challenge, which we'll get to in a little bit here, Mitch Marner has the puck. He has the room to clear. He has room actually to keep skating. And I don't know, like we all know how good Mitch Marner is in the penalty kill. He's phenomenal. And he just, no pressure on him at all. Just yeets it over the glass. Like clear as day, delay a game. I don't know if it's a mental thing with Mitch, but it's just the playoffs for him. It's just there's something off there, and it's a big problem for the Leafs right now. It's
extremely concerning for me. Like in so many ways, it's kind of scary. Like how? So he's that first line, Hyman, Matthews, Marner, has been very odd because it hasn't. On the points, it has not, or like goals and assists, has not looked great. But I think Matthews and Hyman have looked, with the exception of last night for Matthews, that line, those two guys have looked really good. Marner has not invisible, but he has not looked good most of the playoffs. And it's extremely concerning, especially his quotes.
Yeah, it felt rinse and repeat. You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
Yeah, it's like we need to get better.
I think it was the first loss against the Sens the Leafs had earlier in the year, and Marner had that kind of quote. Alex, I remember you saying, like, I've heard this before. It's the typical what kind of stung me about those quotes is Mitch said something along the lines of, "We didn't come prepared." When I think it was Bogosian said. And I thought Bogosian was good, by the way. It's just that third pairing. It's just the other guy has just not been amazing, right? And that, like Sandin and Dermott. And Bogosian said, "We're going to come into this game like it's our game 7." And for Mitch to kind of say, "We didn't come prepared." I mean, what did you expect coming into Montreal when, like, forget just the fans, like the Habs players have their families there for the first time, and they're fighting for their lives. What were you not prepared for?
I don't know.
I think, like, for me, and I'm not saying this is accurate, but I kind of feel that he does feel that added pressure now. And again, I'm not saying that like it is inexcusable, but it's just the fact that when I mentioned before, John Tavares is not there, where suddenly that second line is a bit thinner. It's still good, but it's not John Tavares good.
But the second line has been the best line for the entire series.
That's what I kind of feel, where like I think that for him it's that mental thing where it's like, okay, now like the Leafs still have that balance, but it is a bit more top heavy now if you put Marner and Matthews there. And I know that on the practice today, like Nylander is back with Matthews. And yeah, I think they probably should have done this a while ago, but again, I don't know. Like, I think it is a mental thing for him. If I'm going to talk from experience on watching this and the whole mental game thing, I'm thinking of Marc-Andre Fleury about, post 2011, what happened to him in the playoffs. And more or less like it looks kind of the same.
So what you're saying is they have to trade him to Seattle, Marner to Seattle now. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I mean he was good. Like I keep in mind he got them to the playoffs in 2016. The thing is they overplayed him, and then Matt Murray came in when Fleury got injured.
Yeah, Fleury got them like halfway there, had a bad game, and they're like, "All right, there you go, Matt Murray. Your time is up." Oh, sorry, your time is now, good sir. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just the frustrating thing is they bring in all these guys to deal with this pressure and start and quote unquote start on time, and it's like everyone has seemed to got the message except Mitch Marner. I didn't hear Matthew say anything like that last night.
No, it was, and I hate mentioning, you guys know I hate mentioning contracts and players, but it was said the moment he signed that contract that the 90-point player, the guy who's top 5 in scoring in the regular season, that's required. That's the auto standard. And we talked about, especially the last few weeks, the regular season does not mean a damn thing. All of that goodwill is forgotten. And we can look in Canada, we can look out in Alberta to see exactly how that looks right now with McDavid.
Yep.
And this is where Mitch has to step up. And especially it's so weird because obviously he's a big part of the power play, and that's been another massive struggle still. And it feels like when Montreal attack, they can somehow keep the Leafs at bay, right? But then the moment Montreal, and then when they're in that sort of battle, whenever the Leafs can get into the zone, they hold the puck for too long. It feels like they're almost afraid to take shots, but then they wait until Montreal take away the pressure and start defending in like the back half of the game. Too early sometimes to Montreal's detriment, we've seen. It just feels like, guys, like you're the Leafs. And I saw somebody breaking down a play where they're off the rush and Zach Hyman sort of slows down and takes himself as a scoring option, and the defenseman can take away Marner from the play. It just feels like sometime.
How's it going on?
Just one more thing too. It's like, obviously, I could tell last night when Matthews had the puck because there's a booing sound. But sometimes it feels like he's having it a little less often, like on the power play too. But sometimes I don't know if I'm misseeing things because obviously I pay more attention to Montreal's players during games than the Leafs. When the Leafs have the puck, I'm praying, get it away from them and go back the other way, please.
Right.
But it feels like the Leafs are playing with a little less possession in their game, which is probably the opposite is what they need. That's their game. That's their bread and butter.
It feels like in terms of the first line, at least, and we can end the power play. The thing with the power play is the power play has been an issue for the last 3 to 4 years. And it's like, I don't know what cracks the code here because they go on these runs where the power play looks so good where it's like, okay, guys, don't change a thing. Keep it like this. And then it just dissolves away. But I do think that Montreal and that first line, I'm assuming, I don't remember who was the left winger last night, but the Danault and Gallagher line. I think last night Evans and whoever's there, Tatar, I guess, is usually on that line as well.
Yes.
Has done a really good job at stopping Matthews. And that's quite evident in the fact that line has 1 goal.
That is true. Yeah. Sorry.
I feel like the Leafs, and I think that it got crisp in overtime, save for the goal, but it just nothing was being crisp. Like the passes weren't there. And I think with the power play, or even what you said with the first line, and in terms of those offensive schemes, they're just not adapting. They're, again, throwing what has been successful before, but they're not finding ways around it. And I think that's just been the most frustrating thing as a fan to see right now. And they did manage to get those goals, but like the way I saw these goals where they were not looking for the perfect shot. They were just getting the puck on net.
Which is the thing you don't want to do against Carey Price.
Yeah.
It's really funny you mentioned the passing, by the way, Daniel, because that same Leafs fan I was telling you about, who was going on about Simmons, my friend Cameron, he called me today. He's like, Adam, I can't tell you how many times I was trying to keep track of how many passes the Leafs made and failed. I was like, damn, that's not great.
It was a lot.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna move on to Keith's challenge. So if anything else you want to say, go ahead.
It's just. Everything is very frustrating with the entire situation. and I want to be clear. I'm not bashing Marner, the person, because I think a lot of that has gone on. Last night I was really upset, and I said some very poor words to Mike, but I would never tweet it. It's the mental game there. It's like Daniel's right in saying, I think he's overthinking a lot of what's going on. And it's like, Mitch, take a step back. It's like one of the guys, Jumbo, Bogosian, I don't care, Foligno, I don't care who it is, needs to sit down with Mitch one-on-one, or Keefe, whoever, and have a conversation and say, listen, I know what's going on. Let's move past this. Let's figure this out.
Mitch Marner's a game breaker, but at some point you don't need to try and do too much. Just keep it simple.
You need the Brent Seabrook, Jonathan Taves conversation.
I was thinking of that, Daniel, and I forgot. God dang it. You do. You do. Nick Foligno goes and says, listen, buddy, just drink some Mountain Dew, get rid of the mullet, it's bad, and then we move on.
Call Matt Martin.
Yeah. All right. So I feel like this series has easily had the worst pair of coaches challenge I have ever seen. Ducharme's was worse, like not even a question. Yeah. But like I know it was Corey Perry, and I was hesitant to celebrate the goal myself. But man, he was nowhere near Campbell, and even like Tyler Toffoli barely impeded on him. I thought, like that was a real brutal one. I'm pretty sure his explanation after the game was, there's a lot going on there, which is there's a lot going on with that answer is what it is.
I think last night in general was just a really poor night for Keefe. That coach's challenge did not help. My God, I don't know what he saw. Like when I saw him try to challenge it, I'm thinking, what are you watching? Like, what angle do you possibly have that is so different that we don't see?
Mm-hmm.
I think he overemphasized the crowd because the way, like the crowd at the crease. But the way I see it is that Campbell already committed to the initial shot, and he's already down. Like there was no way anyone was trying to prevent him from getting back into position. It's just, I think like Keith overemphasized the fact that, there was that Tyler Toffoli, like, I guess like crowd he created with there. And then just the fact that Corey Perry was able to just like slide it in.
Yeah, that was such a Corey Perry goal, by the way. And it feels like, by the way, with the exception of the two game winners for Montreal in these overtime games, it feels like a lot of Montreal's goals have been such those greasies that it's at a time when, and I'm not blaming Campbell for this, I'm just kind of breaking out the play. Like Campbell will make the move to go down, and then it's just Montreal win the net front battle and get the greasiest, scummiest goals you've ever seen. And it's like, so that's what you've been trying to do, and it's finally working because you're actually going to the areas. Cool.
It's funny because literally after we recorded last episode, on that last episode, you said they're not getting below the hash marks. And literally like the next two games, they did, and it worked.
Call me crazy. I know something about this game.
Adam on the bench.
A lot. Yeah, you hire me. I couldn't do. Do you guys see, by the way, these commercials with Mario Tremblay and Patrick Waugh?
Yeah, those are odd.
It's like, it's weird to see them okay again. And I wonder if a part of this is Patrick. It's the media tour. Yeah. And he's trying. Here's the thing. I joked about it in the video. Everyone go check that out, by the way. It's cool if the Habs can win this series, but it's kind of bad because then it means Burge and Dom are probably back. But at the same time, it's like, I can deal with that if we can beat the Leafs. You know what I mean? Like that's a W. I can put up with that because like we can deal with that.
Did you say W?
W.
A big dub, some would call it a big dub. All right. Anything else you guys want to handle Leafs Toronto?
Just the thing about, we had the series isn't over yet, and we're already talking about firing Dubas, which I think is beyond me.
Man, Keefe is gone before Dubas, by the way, if there is a firing to be made.
I also don't think Keefe should be fired either. Like I don't understand that sentiment. Like, okay, first off with Dubas, if if your argument is he signed those contracts, then my God, let's go through the laundry list of GMs who are still under contract who have signed horrible deals. That is not a great argument to start with. He put this team together and it worked throughout the entire regular season. And I get the regular season at this point means nothing. Mm-hmm. But if you looked at the quotes and you looked at the energy from this team, it is different from years in the past. At this point, this should not solely, but the majority of the blame should be put on the players, which I have been trying to do for the last 2 years. After Mike Babcock is fired, this is on the players.
Yeah.
Right? Like
there's no fail-safe anymore. It is on this team, because what I agree, Kyle Dubas has done everything he needed to do, and finding good deals on them as well to kind of really address everything that this team has lacked. Everything that even the armchair GMs have said, oh, they lack toughness. All right, look how many tough guys. John Tavares is not a true leader. Okay, I don't agree with that, but he is a great captain. But even more leadership into the lineup. They have guys that, I think of Spezza and Thornton. These guys that were intentional of wanting to sign the minimum to play for Toronto. That he did what he could. TJ Brody, again, we talk about Tyson Barrie, but TJ Brody, he knew where he went wrong, Dubas, with the trade initially, and he fixed it. And I don't think so. He's on the hot seat for this, because again, it's what we see on the ice right now, because they've been given all the tools. Here's the totem pole of repercussions if the Leafs were to lose. Which,
first off, the rest of the series does not matter going to Game 7. It's Game 7. Nothing matters anymore. If you have a list of who is to blame, first is Mitch.
Yep.
Which would then become trade Nylander, because he's the only one you can't trade. I saw a really funny tweet about that saying Mitch Marner's poor play is going to get Nylander traded. And I was like, God, that's so true. And then it's if there was another thing, if Keefe has an egg, lays an egg of a coach in Game 7, maybe. And then at the bottom is Kyle. And the gap between Mitch and Sheldon is enormous. But that's the totem pole.
Yeah, this is how I look at the series for the Leafs. When your top forwards are in this order, I'd say William Nylander, Jason Spezza, and Alex Kerfoot. That is extremely worrying to me, that Matthews and or Marner are not a part of this list.
I'll tell you though, I'm not surprised by Spezza, because that man just lights up the Habs. Always has, and it's astounding.
Not even
Ottawa that, Senator swagger.
He looked like one of the best Leafs against Columbus. This is a pattern here for Jason Spezza. He fought, exactly. It's why is it 37? No offense, but 37-year-old Jason Spezza seems to be one of the only guys consistently showing up for this team.
Well, lads, I say we move on now, because we spent a lot of time there, and we still have a Game 7 to look forward to on Monday.
I'm so nervous. I don't know. I feel a bit sick.
Yeah, I know how you feel, man. All right, so we'll quickly now wrap up the first round. After that, we're going to talk about Ron McLean, some headline news regarding Seth Jones, then we're going to look at the second round, but we can only do 3 series because we're waiting for the Habs and Leafs to finish up. So, first off, Vegas beat Minnesota in 7. Matthias Janmark gets the hat trick. The guy I was like, is he your big ad at the deadline? Well, he won you Game 7. But we'll talk more about Vegas when we get to – I say we talk about the winners of these series once we get to the second round. So, a hell of an effort from Minnesota, and at the same time, just an overall fantastic season for them. Daniel, we'll start with you because you are – the Minnesota man.
Yeah, a big thing is, and we've joked about this before, because it is really a well-known narrative. And the funny thing about me is, when starting at the Hockey Writers, meeting a bunch of fantastic writers as well that are based in Minnesota, they know it as well too, where it's oh yeah, this overpriced veteran core gets eliminated in the first round. And everyone knows that. But the thing is, this year is different. It's so much more different because it's a success. They showed what the future is going to look like. They showed that despite, those pricey contracts, that things can still work out, that they have an identity emerging on that team. And, I don't like to pick on these things, but this was not how it was supposed to be. And I don't know if I don't have an NHL comparison, but I have like the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA from last year, where everyone said, "Oh, they traded Russell Westbrook. This is going to tank," and they still made the playoffs. I think it's just one of those things where they just have that bright future there, where it's for the first time ever, to be honest, in Minnesota, that they actually have these guys, that they have these people developing in the system that are actually going to be homegrown stars. They haven't had that since Marian Gaborik.
God, every time you mention Marian Gaborik, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, the question that we're going to ask about all these first round, I don't want to call them losers. That's mean. Only St. Louis are losers. These teams that
How can you say about Jordan Binnington like that? My guy, Jordan Binnington.
We'll get to Jordan.
Binner was good. All right. Yeah. Binner was good.
He was.
But what's next for Minnesota? Beside Kaprizov's contract.
Besides that, I think you want to figure out who's going to be with this team moving forward. And I think they're set up in a good, in I'd say a good way for the future, with a mix of young guys and older presence. Like, I'm looking at their cap friendly now. Marcus Johansson, Nick Bonino, both guys up. Are you going to keep those guys moving forward, or are you going to bring in more young guys? Because that is a possibility. Daniel, did we see Matthew Boldy, or did we not?
We did not. They opted to go with Zach Parise. And I actually have a funny quote before we move on about it, because when he talked to Michael Russo.
Okay.
Because Parise was scratched for 12 games until he came into game 5.
Right.
And he did pretty well. He actually had 3 points. And the funny thing is, they're like, "What's your future here with Minnesota?" And he grinned because he's like, "Well, I have 3 more years on my contract, and I'm only leaving here if I get traded or bought out."
Wait. Parise said he had 3 years left?
Yeah.
Is it? It's more than 3, isn't it?
I think it's more than 3. He said like
4.
It's 3 or 4.
Something like that.
Yeah,
the article said 3.
I think it's 4. Oh, I guess because it rolls over in July.
Yeah.
I, for a bit of fun, this isn't the only buyout I have here, but in front of me, I've actually gotten out the calculator for a Zach Parise buyout, because it sounds like the way Freeman's talked about it, it is done. And forgetting about the actual money, the cap hit next year would be $2.3 million, which is not bad. Then it goes back up to 6.3. 2 more years around 7.3, and the last 4 years are under $1 million. So it's almost a non-option because the flat cap is going to be here for a while. I know people are saying with the new TV deals, but listening to Elliot Friedman on the newest 31 Thoughts, he was talking about, because of the what people are sort of forgetting here, the money that the players owe in escrow is what's going to hold everything back. They have to like trade him or so. What did he say? He's leaving if he gets bought out or
traded.
So he's not thinking of retiring and going to, cap space LTIR Island.
No, last year he mentioned he still wants to go for it. Like, this made me sad in a way.
Mm-hmm.
As an older fan, that he's like, yeah, I got to the finals when I was younger and I was like captaining the Devils, but I never realized, like, wow, that's my only shot.
Oh.
And they were so close to a deal with the Islanders last year.
Yeah,
if you guys remember,
nobody wants Andrew Ladd's contract.
It was like, man, if it didn't get out to the media, we were so close, so close to the Wild. It's okay.
Pulling off a blockbuster. All right, moving on. Carolina are playing Tampa Bay right now, but they knocked off Nashville in 6. And what do you know? The Preds got more than they really could have expected, and that was 3 games of playoff revenue.
Yeah, and great UC Saros.
Oh man! So remember how I said there was another Rashinsky tweet that I was really mad about?
Mm-hmm.
He said, "If you look at UC Saros, this is what everyone thinks Carey Price is doing," and I got so upset.
What?
But Saros single-handedly, I wonder how much gate, because Nashville's been pretty full and what a loud crowd. Maybe don't invite the founder of Barstool on Twitter if you want to have any sort of PR. You fools! That's not the first time that Nashville has tweeted something very dumb, by the way. But how much money for that additional home game do you think UC Saros made them? Because whenever his contract is up, I don't know when it is off the top of my head, but I'm gonna. If I'm him, I'm saying, well done.
This year, by the way.
This year,
He's arbitration eligible.
Nashville's good. I don't know. I just have this funny thing. The way they pay people there, it's like he's gonna ask for $6.5 million, and Nashville's like, no, we'll give you $8 million.
Renee's up though, right? So there's going to be that money though. So
Yeah.
it won't be a total mess up, but that's not bad. Well, I don't know if they can, because I don't think you could really use the comparison to Delkovich in that because he's been in the league a little longer. So I'm not sure what his player comparables are, but not bad. And again, we'll talk about Carolina a little later because they're finally in an interesting series that is. Like I put in the doc, you'll see. I was more interested in Carolina ripping Nashville on Twitter than I was about the actual series. It wasn't about Carolina because they're a fun team. It's Nashville. They're not. It should be Dallas, not them.
Yeah, it's rough. It's going to be like you asked me that question before about Minnesota. I think there's a lot more questions in Nashville just because they were going to sell for quite a long period of time. And then UC Saros woke up.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No. I'm just there's a lot of questions to be answered.
For me, if I'm Nashville, I'm just wondering when I think about what you said, Alex, when they said that, we're going to sell it all except for these 3 players.
Right.
I guess I want to know now, what is the narrative today? Because is this the core ceiling? Is a first round exit this core ceiling, and we're still going to run with it like next year, paying all of these guys, paying Kalturis?
By the way, in case you guys were wondering, I do have the Ryan Johansson buyout up.
Hey.
And it's not as bad. Well, oh my Lord. The buyout is 8 years of a length, but the cap hit goes down to $2.6 million of his current $8 million cap hit. So it is an option. Maybe.
It is an option. That would be not great.
No,
if they were
not.
to, man. Oh.
You up Seth Jones for this guy?
We'll get to Seth Jones a little later because people are starting to say Seth Jones is bad, and I'm just starting to not.
What?
I'm trusting analytics less and less because I keep being told 1 year that someone is amazing and a Norris Trophy candidate, and then I see other graphs of like comparing him to Werenski, and it's like, oh, Werenski's wicked now, and then Jones is like declining, and it's like, no one should get the. I just don't get it. I don't
old
understand
at 26.
it. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's his play style. We'll say it now. Whatever, we're here.
Maybe. Oh no, go ahead. I was just saying. This is Zoom. This is Zoom. This is the. This is horrible. No, maybe it's Columbus just had a horrible year.
I mean, yeah. Per Elliot Friedman. Defenseman Seth Jones has informed the Columbus Blue Jackets that he intends to test free agency next summer. This regardless of how good Seth Jones is, because I believe he's still good, is another star player looking like they're walking out the door in Columbus.
Yeah.
You can't defend it anymore. You can't do it. This was the guy that I believe Werenski is up the year after, I want to say.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens with him, but this should also be an indicator you would think is they should go the full rebuild direction now because that's it. That's it. So Domi's up next year too, I think. Yeah. So
I have a fun fact. Yeah. Sorry, Alex, you want to go first?
No, go. You go with your fun fact first.
My fun fact is I predicted this for Seth Jones leaving Columbus my first time ever on this podcast when I went to Alex's house. I called it with Seth Jones, and then everyone's like, "Really? They have two?" Like, not you guys, but I'm like, I remember everyone was saying, "It was like, oh no, I don't know. Columbus has something going. Like, they lost Sergei Bobrovsky, but they have those two goalies there that they have something. Pierre-Luc Dubois is developing. I think they could try to keep Seth Jones, but I remember calling it on that episode where I'm like, he's gone."
There you go. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is from Aaron Portsline. Sources have told The Athletic that the Blue Jackets, barring a change of heart by Seth Jones, are likely to trade him this summer, most likely near the NHL draft in late July.
By the way,
yes,
you told me yesterday the draft lottery's on Wednesday?
That is correct.
That came out of nowhere.
Just kind of happened. That's great advertising.
Yeah. By the way, so Seth Jones for Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Ooh.
Wow.
I don't know, whatever. And then they flip Orlov for a centerman who Monahan. That's how it works.
I have an idea of a team that might be interested in him.
Who?
Okay, so they were looking for a defenseman in the off season during the regular season. The Philadelphia Flyers.
Oh, they're supposed to be active this off season too.
I wouldn't be surprised. Jones is right-handed, right?
Yeah.
Right. They were looking for a right-handed defenseman.
Alex, what's the package?
I haven't thought about it. I will get back to you on that one.
All right.
Okay. There we go, Nashville. There we go, there we go, Columbus. You're going to be bad. The Islanders eliminate the Penguins in 6.
I mean, they eliminate Tristan Jarry.
I mean, that glove is terrible. Mike Sullivan will be back as coach next year, reported on headlines as well. Probably because he has 3 years left on his deal, and he's a pretty good coach. Again, what the difference in this series was Barry Trotz said, yeah, Sorokin's the better goalie than Varlamov, so go ahead and have it. And the Penguins only had Jarry, and he was bad.
They made a bet, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
No, that was it. The Penguins just did not have any goal to that, and Crosby, did he have a goal?
Oh, that's a lovely question.
I don't mean to blame this on Sid because it was the goaltending in the end, but it is disappointing that the Pens have won. They haven't won a series since 2018 now?
2018, because that was when they went to the second round.
Oh.
He had 1 goal and 2 points in 6 games.
Oh yeah, he scored the first goal of the series, remember? When did the crazy one-handed tip?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In game 1.
Yeah, we were recording, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, the way I see the Islanders, and I've said it before, it's just they suffocate you. They get to the Penguins, the way the Penguins play. It's just they're like a face hugger.
Mm-hmm. What, the ones from what do you call it? Alien?
Yeah, that it just gets to you, and you can't it won't let go. It just the way their defensive schemes have been. It just. Again, we talk about the Leafs and sometimes their offense not really adjusting to the moments, but I think the Penguins this series was just a whole different level.
It doesn't help that a lot's been made about Brian Dumoulin as well and how important he is. Alex, I've asked you this question a few times. I'm going to ask it again.
Yeah.
What does Ron Hextall do with this team? I'm not saying Brian Burke because he's not the GM. People, he doesn't have respect. Some people, Jesus Christ.
I think
no respect.
Well, they got to decide what route they're going to take, and we talked about it last episode about is this the end of an era for? We talked about with Crosby, and we talked about it with Ovechkin. And if I'm Ron Hextall, and I think this goes with the same with Washington as well. Any year you have either of these guys, you are trying to go for it. And you know what? It's probably going to bite them in the ass eventually. But having a guy like Ron Hextall who look at what he did with Philadelphia in terms of drafting and developing, he did a great job at that. And hopefully he can replicate that here. I think the main thing that they do address in the offseason is goaltending. Like, you need to get someone with Tristan Jarry. It's not that Tristan Jarry is a bad goalie, but I think he cracked under the pressure. And you think they call you think they call the Vegas Golden Knights and see if Fleury's available? Probably not. My guess is extremely not, but they need to get someone alongside Tristan Jarry.
Is Leonard, I thought I saw just a thing here. Is Leonard starting tonight for Vegas, Colorado?
I did see something about that.
Because imagine Leonard does come in and let's say he wins the series and he takes the net somehow. I'm not saying Fleury was bad. He was incredible in the series against Minnesota. And then you have Marc-Andre Fleury, who's a little older, let's be honest, in his career. And it's like, oh, hey, Pittsburgh, so you need a goalie, eh? Well, you need a goalie? Well, we have an extra goalie, but I think it's going to cost you.
So
I see Samuel Poulin there.
Just to confirm, Jesse Granger reported this morning, obviously covers the Golden Knights for The Athletic. Robin Lehner was the first goalie off the ice at morning skate and is expected to start game 1 against Colorado. Robin Lehner then replied to that tweet with, the gif of Tony Stark, and behind Tony Stark, everything's just exploding.
Yeah.
That is what he replied with.
Oh, man.
I have a question for Adam.
Yeah.
Will Samuel Poulin become the next Jack Studnicka in trade situations?
Of course. Not even a question. Okay, so where are we now, Adam? Keep your notes open. Right. I guess we can, by the way, just mention this series now. The Islanders did lose game 1 against the Bruins. I don't know if we can really talk about it because none of us watched it, I'm guessing, because we were watching the Leafs and Habs. Pasternak had a hat trick.
That's the only thing I know from that game.
Of course, I know Hall had an empty netter. It's the Bruins. We got to stop counting them out. We got to stop it. So we'll talk more about that series on Wednesday, I guess. And the last series of the first round, Tampa Bay, they've edged Florida in 6. Same with Minnesota, you can kind of, or comparable to Minnesota here. A great season for the Panthers. They run into the Stanley Cup champions that were just that much better and had a superstar that hadn't played in forever and was completely healthy for like 2 months, as you are. Though the big questions with Florida are in net. And that means Sergei Bobrovsky. And you know what that means, guys. It's time for the buyout. And that is not Bobrovsky. That is still Ryan Johansson. Bob Buyout is what I've named this piece. The Bob Buyout. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is 10 years. It is at least $5.8 million for the next 4 years. That's in years 3 and 4, it's 6.8. It's 6.8 in years 3 through 5. Then in the back half, it's $1.8 million. But that is at least for 5 years more than half of his salary currently, or his cap hit.
It's ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of the Panthers lineup, and they have to re-sign a bunch of guys in like a year or two.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a pretty big name by name of Alexander Barkov in there too.
Oh, really?
That's pretty ridiculous. I actually I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't think it was going to be like this up until 2026, like 6.8 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's that bad. Welcome to the buyout corner. You love to see it. Though, I mean, I think it's pretty well been said in the media that they're going to do whatever they can. The buyout is obviously your probably last resort. Seattle is probably the first option because just by his cap hit alone. And Bobrovsky is in pretty good health, as we can see, and I doubt he's going to want to disappear. Same as kind of Zach Parise at the moment. It has to be Seattle or buyout at this point, right? And I mean, you're probably going to give up your Owen Tippett. If you're trying to bribe Seattle, you're losing this first, probably next year's first, maybe Owen Tippett. I'm just thinking of some young guys. Man, and they've not been great at developing the past couple of years. Think of Alexei Hipyanyemi, what's up with him? And Who's the guy they went to Chicago? Really cool name.
Henrik Borgstrom.
Henrik Borgstrom. All of a sudden, such a good season is looking a little down for the Florida Panthers. This
was like $4.8 million, but it was still pretty bad. That I remember they had to do that to save money. Was when it ended up being okay, but they traded Lawson Krause with Bolin to get rid of him to the Coyotes. And I remember that time I thought it was going to be a lot worse because Krause was just drafted and, we were all still on our real junior hype about him. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. If they have to do this again, I think it's going to hurt them even more now.
I also wonder, Alex, is if you go into next season, is it the right thing to do to ride a tandem, if you can get rid of Bob, to ride the tandem of Spencer Knight and Chris Driedger? We've seen in very small sample size, Spencer Knight's been good. We've seen that in the sort of tandem, Driedger has been good. But then all of a sudden, if you don't, and say whatever you want about Bobrovsky, he's had a lot of experience. He has Vezina trophies. Is it going to be easy for that young Florida tandem?
No, I don't think it's going to be easy. And I don't want to say it's going to go the exact same way, but look at what happened in Philadelphia. There's probably other circumstances surrounding that potentially, but there's still that possibility. And Spencer Knight is 20 years old. Now
he's even younger than Carter Hart when he came onto the scene.
Right. I think it's a dangerous move to throw Spencer Knight into the NHL. I think he'll still be 20 by the start of next season. And
I have a comparable.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Spencer Knight just played in the World Juniors, and now he's playing, right? It's exactly the same as Steve Mason.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going.
Oh, what are you going to say?
I thought you were going to pull out some Andrew Raycroft stuff.
Oh, no.
So
come on.
What you're saying is now, next year, the Hart Trophy, the Calder Trophy will be won by Spencer Knight, and then he'll be doomed in the eternal, I need a starter, let me go get this guy who's a fringe backup. Remember that one year where 6 teams all traded goalies and it was a giant circle? Yeah. Pretty sure he was in there. Steve Mason, yes. I think Brian Elliott may have been in there.
Bobrovsky, he went from Philadelphia to Columbus.
It was later than that, but it was just this really weird. I think Talbot may have moved that year. It was really strange, really strange. Okay, we said last week that we would cover this, so we are talking about Ron McLean today. Turns out he did not address anything on the broadcast, which was a little brave. So there was a clip going around where he's talking to Bieksa, and Bieksa is the most positive person on this room. And there's this picture in the background because Bieksa, it's been a really good little bit with him. He has these pictures, at Ryan Kessler's body issue or something. There's been some really funny stuff back there. So apparently there's this picture of Anthony Stewart, shirtless at a rum party, whatever that is. Okay. And McLean makes this joke of if you're in if you're a guy with his tarp off, you're going to be positive for something. Now that sounds like a very inappropriate joke about I don't know what we can say. I don't want Voice Ed to be mad at us, but it sounds like a very homophobic remark. So Ron McLean then puts out this statement. I'll screen share it. So if you're on the YouTube, you can. Those are my show notes. That is not Ron McLean's statement. Oh no. Here it is. Ron McLean from his Twitter account. First and foremost, I regret and apologize for what happened last night. Early in the show, we had a fun moment featuring a photograph of our colleague Anthony Stewart enjoying a rum party. That photo, along with a few others, sat on the shelf of Kevin Bieksa's set for the remainder of the night. In the second intermission, when Kevin quipped that he was the, quote, most positive person on our panel, quote, I directed viewers to that photo using tarp off, i.e. shirtless, to specify the picture with the rum bottle, and quipped, you'll be testing positive for something. I meant the rum. I understand that when others are within earshot of a two-way conversation, the potential for a misunderstanding exists. If you only heard that last line in isolation, I completely understand how that misunderstanding occurred. I am deeply sorry. The idea of language and intention of personal responsibility. I have seen those concepts used as a broad Okay, the rest of it, he goes on about how he's reached out to people to see what he's done wrong. He talks about how he's a big supporter of LGBTQ and all that, which he is. So first off, I can give Ron McLean the benefit of the doubt because, like, he's not, like, there is not a long history of saying super racist stuff on air like Don Cherry. Though, and it's like a sobriety test positive, but I've never heard somebody refer to rum and, like, drinking it as like, it sounded horrible. Yeah, I believe him. I want to give him the explanation, like, the benefit of the doubt, because he explained it. He said he reached out to people. And, like, Ron McLean's a friendly grandpa of a dude. He's not Don Cherry. But it sounded so bad.
Yeah, it didn't sound great.
A lot of the arguments I heard were people were saying, oh, he meant like, then these, I don't agree with it, but there were a lot of, I guess, people defending Ron saying, oh, he meant positive in terms of the breathalyzer or something. But yeah. I'm like, you don't really say that. Like, that's not a phrase.
No, it's no, like, nowadays, like, we're in sports, right? You know, this is a league that the whole Artemi, sorry, not Artemi Panarin, like the Kuznetsov stuff. Like, when you think positive in sports, the first thing that my mind goes to is a drug or some disease, like, hey, COVID, that's a thing. I don't think of somebody as being drunk as positive or something. You know what I mean? And when you talk about shirtless Ben and the way he said it did not come across as him talking about booze. It just did not at all. And I'm even with the apology, I'm very disappointed that he didn't say anything on the broadcast. Like, obviously, I think a lot of the people who were going after him were the Don Cherry supporters that think that he is the worst person going.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know how he doesn't go on and say, you know what, guys, I messed up there. It's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, it was rough. The social media was rough. And I mean, I agree with you on the fact that he probably could have addressed it on the broadcast, simply for the reason of, I think we have this misconception that everyone who's on Twitter are the people who are watching the broadcast. And I don't think that's true. I think there's a large portion of people actually who don't have Twitter who watch the broadcast. So I think just for the sake of them, to address it on air would have been a really good idea. I'm glad, like, we always talk about receipts, right? Mm-hmm. Is one of the things we talk about, and the fact that he did reach out to people. And I did see tweets confirming that. Obviously I don't think he would lie about that, especially nowadays. That was a positive for me, but yeah, just not a great situation overall.
I agree that, you know, a lot of fans, especially people who tend to be older, a lot of people that, again, like, Twitter is kind of on the bottom of the poll when it comes to social media. I feel that not everyone's going to see it. Everyone's just going to think, oh, I guess they're not going to talk about this. I guess we're just going to keep on going where things are as they were before, that business as usual. And I think that even if he took the time maybe to say something, because there has been a lot of times before where they say, I apologize that this thing happened, or, you know, this thing that you initially heard here, for example, will be addressed now, and this is the right correction with things. I think that they had enough time to maybe give it like it's, you know, it's due in a way that say, I really meant this and this is what I meant. Because when it's just handed out in a social media post like that, it's just going to get buried.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I didn't even realize that Sportsnet or Ron McLean had posted anything until Adam had sent it to me. Like, I was just working. Like, it wasn't usually school me where I scroll through Twitter 24/7. It's like, okay, well, I missed it and it got buried and I didn't realize it until Adam had sent it to me.
Mm-hmm. Nice that he actually explained it. Because listen, I've seen much worse apologies on Twitter.
Yes.
With a lot less explanation and a lot more cockiness. Anyway. Moving on to the second rounders, looking at series above here, Tampa Bay and Carolina. Before we get to the series itself, I remember seeing this a couple of years ago. So Tampa Bay, apparently this is a Greg Wyshynski ESPN article. Tampa Bay Lightning loosened policies restricting fans in premium seating from wearing opponents' gear. The Tampa Bay Lightning will no longer enforce a policy that restricts fans from wearing gear supporting the other NHL teams in their premium seating arenas, the team told ESPN on Friday. The policy, which began in 2015, had come under renewed scrutiny after a Florida Panthers fan recorded a viral video that shows two Amalie Arena employees confronting his and his 11-year-old son. I cannot believe, first of all, that this was a thing.
So was the video from this year or a few years ago?
I believe it was Panthers gear. I'll double check.
But was it from this year though? Like the series that they just played?
The article doesn't specify whether it was this year, but okay. I'm gonna say it's safe to assume that talked about Florida stuff. There's been a big hoopla because if you notice when you watch a Lightning game, there is normally an awful lot of blue there. But just how arrogant can you be? Like such a model organization in so many different ways. What are you doing?
Let's see if the guy. I'm gonna go see if I can find the video. If the guy's wearing a mask, that's how I know when
that
it was recorded.
Very good way of looking.
That's the only way I'll figure this out.
God,
I believe you can hear the ice cream truck in my.
Yes.
My apologies for that.
Cream? For once, it's not me with the audio outside of this. An ice cream truck. That is a great jingle.
Leaving soon. Yeah, I don't know. It just.
Wait, let's all just listen for a second. That's awesome. I love that. That's great. Okay, I hope that gets picked up well for the podcast.
So do I.
Tampa, Carolina, though, with the game being 0-0, I say we still take predictions. I think the second round matchup we all saw coming or hoping to have. And boy, this is going to be the test for Carolina. I'm going to take Tampa Bay in the series, but if you can't put down Nashville easily, I know how you're going to fare against Andre Vasilevsky and the Tampa Bay Lightning. But if Carolina can do it, watch out, man.
I'm also going to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just think they're so good. It's like kind of ridiculous. And, exactly what you said about Carolina there in terms of how they struggled against Nashville and look at even last year, how they kind of struggled against Boston. And I know it's a different team, and they actually have goaltending this time. I just think that Tampa is so ahead of other teams in terms of skill and everything else that it's going to be a really tough series. I think Carolina is going to make it it's just going to be a really good series and probably going to go to 6 games.
Damn.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm going to take Tampa for this, but I think there's going to be a few upset games for the Hurricane, just the way they're built. I think that they're getting to the Lightning level if everything develops and they're smart with their money and they, Alex Nedeljkovic becomes a world-class goalie and they could keep that defensive core intact while still making sure that all of their goal scorers are healthy, especially, Teuvo Teravainen. And if they could get there, I think that they'll make it interesting. But again, I think I'm going to just go with Tampa simply because, we've laughed at it before about the whole salary cap thing, but there's such an anomaly with the amount of talent that is on that team. And not only that, but just how it works together.
Listen, for Carolina to truly be contenders now, they need a few humiliating second-round exits, and this is the start of it. So it's not your time yet, Carolina, but you will get there. Your social media is championship level, but not quite there. Not quite there. And who's going to win the first game tonight?
Tampa.
Tampa 5-4, but then they're going to adjust after.
I say a 1-0 Carolina win, and then Tampa come out next game and just remind us who they all are.
I'm going to go with 2-0 Tampa Bay, 1 empty net goal.
Okay, good. New York and Boston.
Yes.
Game 1 was, oh my God, and then this happened, and then that happened. These are the series of the two teams I hate betting against. And I don't have a coin in front of me. I was going to flip it. I guess the easy thing is to say Boston right now, so I'll say the Islanders.
Do you want to ask Siri?
Try.
So heads is Boston, tails is the Islanders. Is that?
Sure. Hold on.
Okay.
The one time I want to use my touchpad to use Siri, and she's not working. The one time. Are you serious? Oh, Siri, flip a coin. I didn't ask you a question. No. Siri, flip a coin.
Siri doesn't like you. Here,
apparently not. I'm gonna go the Islanders. Oh,
okay.
Oh, whatever.
You hate Siri now. She's on your bad list. I think I'm gonna go with the Bruins on this one. I just think they proved me wrong. I proved me wrong against Boston. And I think that Taylor Hall addition is really proving to work on like everywhere on the ice, it seems. And I think that momentum moving forward is going to be really good. And like that they finally have a proper second line, where in years past, it seems like they had really good players, but it never meshed.
Andre Kosh is out for the playoffs too, isn't he? Man, that's trade. Such bad luck. Daniel, who do you have and why?
I have the Bruins. I'm going to just take, for me, okay, this is not a Leafs comparison with the Bruins, but like in this series itself, it's just the lesser of two evils for me, simply because of Patrice Bergeron. And, I still have this weird sentiment for Tuukka Rask. I don't know why. But, yeah, I'm going to pick the Bruins.
Okay, good. I'll be the underdog here. That's the Islanders' identity, isn't it?
Exactly.
You going to count us out?
I was waiting for the reaction, by the way, when I said the Tuukka Rask sentiment. But
no, we don't need to keep going to that well.
Okay,
we're better than that. Okay. Winnipeg. Oh, wait, not yet. We're still waiting on that, aren't we? Oh, great. All right. And finally, the big one. The modern-day LA Chicago. The modern-day Detroit, Colorado. I don't know why I went the early 2000s route there. Vegas, Colorado, game 1 tonight. It's the big one. I'm going full. I'm going to be the same person I've gone for the past 2 years, and I'm saying Colorado are going all the way here. They're a more complete team. They very much dealt with St. Louis in the first round, unlike Vegas with Minnesota. I just like them, and they've gotten plenty of rest. Maybe a bit of a rusty start to the game. And even if Vegas come out and win tonight, I'm still going full Colorado no matter what. In 6. Colorado in 6.
Yeah, even without Nazem Kadri, and I don't know how long he'll be out for. I think 6 games because he missed 2 in that series.
Maybe.
He's going to miss plenty of games in this series, and I think despite that, I'd still say Colorado is the better team of what I've seen lately.
Yeah.
And I do think they're going to take this series, and like Adam, you said a month or 2 ago, like this series especially is extremely important for Colorado, and saying we are the dominant team of the West.
Daniel.
Yeah, I agree. What we talked about in 2014 was, that was the true kind of test to see who's really going to win the cup. Because whoever's going to come out of the series is probably going to have the best chance at winning the cup, because you talk about Chicago and LA and how brutal that series was. And what I look about it now is it's going to go to 7, but I have Colorado going. But I guess the notes I have on this is it's going to go to 7 because I think Vegas had a scare with Minnesota, so they have met adversity. I think Colorado hasn't, so they're just going to have those initial maybe 1 or 2 games right now, but in the end, I think they take it, Colorado.
You don't need adversity when you have the best player on the planet, Daniel. Nathan McKinnon's going to continue to build his legacy. Sid, down. McKinnon, down. The dominoes are all falling, and Nathan McKinnon is the one who flicked them to start. You know, it hasn't been a fall of dominoes. It's been an avalanche of dominoes.
That sounds like the episode title.
You ever seen the movie V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
So, you know, for those of you who don't know, it's a really good movie. And there's this famous scene when the main protagonist, if you can call him that.
Elrond, yes.
Yeah. Flick, there's just hilarious domino scene. It's a pretty serious movie, but it's just comedic to think he set up all these dominoes and it goes and falls into his logo. But at the end, there's just one domino that doesn't fall. And he just tilts his head. He has his mask on, right? And he just picks up the one domino. That's Colorado. That's Nathan McKinnon. All the greats are falling in front of him right now. And Mark Stone is next.
Alex left? Pietrangelo?
Aho, no. Pietrangelo, no. Who are the other all-stars right now? Carey Price, we'll see what happens if he can get there. Austin Matthews, we'll see if he can get there. Yeah. Any of the Jets guys, they're nothing compared to Nate Dogg.
Pasternak, Bruce.
No. Pasternak can win a Maurice Richard, but he can't win a Hart Trophy. Nate, again, Connor McDavid can win a scoring title, multiple, and MVP can't win a playoff round. And with that, the episode is done. Thank you to Voice Set, as always, for being an amazing platform for the show. We're going to go because it's getting, you may hear pans, because this podcast, I feel bad because my mother is cooking all the dinner right now. So we got to go so I can make some mashed potatoes.
Let's go.
So and we're done. That's everything.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Check Twitter. Check out my YouTube channel, HFR Game 6. Daniel's stuff for the hockey writers. Alex's blog. Our own social medias, the shows, especially the TikTok, the Twitter, and all that lovely stuff.
The great Instagram stories.
Yes, the great Instagram stories that none of you believed. None of you believed in Game 6. No. I'm going to take names and remember that. Same with all our past guests at Montreal when you're all coming on and you're all going to apologize. But at least when Will, don't worry about it. You're okay. You and Laura are fine. I like you.
Wait, specify which Will.
Oh, that's a good point.
Baldwin, the one you said Montreal.
Okay.
Christopoulos is playing all the sides right now. If you've been looking, one day he's like, no, the Habs are going to do. I believe in Caulfield. Christopoulos, next time he comes on, we're gonna have a chat because he's playing all the sides right now.
Mike keeps telling me he keeps jinxing the Leafs in their group chat. It's like, come on, help us out here a little bit.
All right,
awesome.
That is everything, and we will see you Wednesday when we will have a winner of the Leafs and the Habs.
And the draft lottery.
Draft lottery. Wait. What time is the draft lottery?
It's at 7:00. We won't have a winner by that time.
I was about to say, when are we? We're not recording at 7:00.
No. I don't think
we're live. A live episode.
We are not live streaming it again. That
again.
was a complete disaster.
That wasn't great.
Goodbye.